everybody, and welcome back to another episode. Today, I've got Sandhya on the show. She is the founder of Engineered Capital and the ACE Operators Mastermind. She's an industry leader in performing for investors, regardless of the economic conditions. We're going to talk about that today. And she's got excellence in operations in the midst of this stormy economy. Looking back how people manage things, it's always like the grass is greener and hindsight 2020. But when you're in the midst of it with everything that's going on, you want to be able to pull what people are doing out right now today that is working. And that's what we're going to jump into today with Sandhya. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Brandon. It's been fantastic knowing you the last 3-4 years that we've known each other through Raise Masters. So I'm very glad to be on your show.
It's kind of fun. Yeah, we met through the Raise Masters Mastermind, the first meetup ever that this mastermind had. I found your phone number in a text group, and I texted him. I was like, "Hey, do you want to grab breakfast?" I think it was breakfast at the time, or lunch or something. And I didn't even know what you looked like. And so you show up, and I'm like, "Dude, like this is." I can tell she's got this bubbly personality. She's all about the numbers. She's got an engineering background. I was like, "This is super cool to meet this person." So it's been a great relationship and learning from you ever since. For those that don't know who you are, give us a little bit of context. What's your story and background?
Came from India with 2 suitcases in hand. My parents made about $60 a month in salary, and I wanted to come here to the US and go to college because, about 10,000 a year. So I kind of sort of had to take my education seriously, apply for college, get some really good test scores to get a scholarship and come here. And then, like most Asian geeks, I have an engineering background. I went to college for engineering, got an engineering job, etc. Realized very quickly in my W-2 that it's the business-minded marketing sales folks who are making all the decisions, and I wanted to understand how. So I got my MBA part-time while working full-time, learned to trade stocks, went full-time to the stock market, and then now, the stock market treated us well, and I needed something to offset my taxes, and stumbled into real estate by attending one of those weekend seminars about multifamily. So today I'm all about multifamily syndications. I buy large apartments in the Dallas area and help investors have another way to invest in real estate without doing all the, work of a landlord themselves. And so that's
So
what we do.
now, when you say you're buying these things, obviously I think you're acting in a general partner sense, right? And
Correct.
you're an operator as well, which is rare, but
Correct.
you've also invested passively as
Mhm.
an investor. And if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's kind of how you got your start. You invested passively in some deals as a
Mhm.
limited partner. Can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that?
So it's sort of, I use the analogy of riding a plane. Before you want to be a pilot in a plane, try to be a passenger and then a co-pilot. So
Yeah.
that's sort of the way I did it. So being a passenger in a plane is like how you invest in Amazon or in the stock market. You are passive. The executives of that company are making all the decisions. So I used my retirement money from my corporate days that I couldn't put into my own deals to invest passively in other people's deals. One, to learn how it all works, and also, secondly, to develop relationships with existing sponsors in my favorite markets, which is Dallas, Fort Worth for me. That's where I've lived for the last 33 years. And so this helps me learn the business, be more hands-on, even visit properties with those sponsors, etc. Because my intent was to eventually sponsor my own deals and be a general partner and be a hands-on asset manager.
Yeah, that's a great way to start. And I know there comes a time where there's a fork in the road to either continue being a limited partner versus saying, you know what, I want to make the jump and I want to start being a little bit more active, finding the deals, managing the deals, getting a bigger slice of it. Like, why did you not continue to be a limited partner versus go the GP route? Because I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. It's like, do I keep doing my day job that's making me money, that's safe, and keep pouring it into real estate and getting the depreciation and the tax benefits and the passive income? Or do I give that up to try to go chase real estate to give a bigger slice of the pie? Walk us through that fork in the road. How did you make that decision?
So when I joined the mentoring program itself, I wanted to be an operator and a syndicator myself, but I wanted to learn it first from the side of my customer, which is a passive investor. And that's why even today I still invest passively with my retirement money that I don't want to take out of the retirement bucket. But the way I decided to go full time into apartments as a syndicator also is by saying that this is how I can get the tax benefits I really want, by being a full-time real estate professional. And I had to do activities that contributed materially and meaningfully to the operations. That's what my accountant told me. And so I had to do that. I did not have any other way to have any kind of a tax write-off because I didn't have any other business. And I was not working a full-time W-2. My husband was. So by the time I had gone full-time into just trading stocks and I was making decent money, and then we had my husband's W-2. So we had no way to do our, write off our taxes. And I didn't look at single family rentals or fix and flips because in the Dallas market back then, prices weren't really appreciating as much. And I wasn't a handy person to know how to fix, a leaky toilet on Thanksgiving Day kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
wanted to avoid some of that tenants, toilets, trash kind of stuff. By
Okay.
having large multifamily, you can pay full-time to have on-site staff and hire a third-party property management company. And that's the model that made sense. So as far as passive versus active, I wanted to have enough of a blend even today that
Yeah.
the active side is so much work that if I had 15 deals and I tried to do them myself, that will be too many. So if some
Mhm.
of them are passive, then it's more hands-off for me and
Right.
it still appreciates versus the active side, that's a full-time job. So the people who are trying to do full-time jobs of W-2 careers and trying to be active on the syndication side with actually properties, that's going to be rough because you won't have the time. You'll have to have partners who hopefully will have the time to do it full time. It's not like a piece of land that you can just let it, leave it alone for 10 years and do nothing with it and it appreciates in value. This is actual properties, tenants living in it, communities, repairs, code compliance, lenders, all of that to deal with.
So let's talk about that, because for those that are limited partners that have great jobs and just want to pour their money into real estate and get the tax benefits and create passive income where they don't have to rely on their job or their business for future income, the most overlooked part that I see is people focus on the sponsor and not necessarily who is actually going to be running the operations of that deal, right? A lot of people see the face-to-face person and like, my business, it's me, right? I'm the sponsor, HBG Capital is the sponsor. But it just happens that we're vertically integrated and our construction company is the operator, right? They're the ones that are actually going out and doing the work, developing. But that's not always the case. Not everybody's vertically integrated. A lot of people hire that out to a builder or developer or whoever. In my world, in your world, they would hire it out to a property manager to manage that asset. And in my opinion, you almost want to research the operator and do as much due diligence on them as the sponsor, because that operator is in charge of actually managing that deal and making sure that it performs. So if I'm a passive investor and I'm doing my due diligence and the sponsor checks out, what kind of due diligence do you recommend investors perform on the operator?
So I have a whole long checklist to vet a sponsor, which I call as also the general partner or the operator. But if you want to always ask the question, who is going to stay with me when this deal closes, when the acquisition phase is done? Who's going to stay with me the next 5 years or 7 years, whatever that hold period is, and actually be running this property to make money for me, to make sure I get distributions, to make sure I get the returns that you have projected to me? Who is that person or who is that team? What is their experience in that market operating or developing a similar type of asset? Because it's so different when you're building a brand new A class versus managing a C class, or doing retail versus office versus multifamily. They all come with a completely different set of challenges. I'm hearing these days about people converting a hotel or an office into multifamily. That has its own set of huge challenges. So
Yeah.
I would be very hesitant to get into something like that unless they have a proven track record. And even then, zoning laws change, taxes, insurance, all of those things need to be taken into account. So the experience of the person who's going to be running this property from the date that the deal is acquired till you get all your money back as a passive investor. Who is that person? What homework do you have to do on that person or that team? That's the most important thing. Who is the property management company, in my case, running the asset? And in your case, it would be who's the actual builder? What experience do they have in that market? Can they deal with all the unexpected things that have come up? What challenges have they faced in the past and how do they overcome them? So in the case of multifamily, do you know how to deal with fire? Do you know how to deal with insurance hikes? What screening criteria do you have for getting your tenants in? What do you do when the occupancy dips? There's just a whole long list of things to dig into. But at a high level for a passive investor, you just want to know how experienced they are. What is their track record? And who can verify that for you? Like if I had to hire a contractor to do a 50K remodel in my kitchen, because 50K is the typical investment we make in these deals, I want a reference, right? So who's your reference? Who can go and tell you, yeah, this contractor didn't just set the house on fire. They actually came through and did a quality job within the timeline they said and within the budget. So same way, who's your reference? That reference has really helped me in screening operators.
I like what you said there. Compare it to hiring a contractor to remodel your kitchen. Same format. Like, what process would you follow? Reference checks. You'd want, pricing, probably get like a few quotes or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. See who's different. I really love what you did there. What do you feel like are the biggest mistake that you're seeing other operators make that maybe people don't know about or are not coming to light?
So in multifamily, especially the golden era, as we call it, from like say mid 2015, 2017, 2019, et cetera, you acquired a lot of properties. You could just completely ignore the operation side of it and sell them if you sold it by 2021, just because of the interest rates and cap rates compressing, you
Yeah.
made great returns on the deal and you never had to worry about operations. Now you have the reverse happening. Since 2021, when the interest rates hike started in 2022, mid 2022, and kept climbing up the last 18 to 24 months, it's been insane because now your insurance went up. In some places in Texas, your taxes went up, and now your mortgage went up, especially if you had a floating rate loan. But even if you had a fixed rate loan, you can't sell your property now because the buyer has to face these high interest rates as they get their new loan to buy your property. So your cap rates have gone up, meaning your property is selling for a lower price today than a year or two ago in a lot of cases. So you can't make money unless you operate your deals extremely well. So another problem we saw was the floating rate bridge loans that people got in 2021 or 2022. Some of them bought it without what is called a rate cap, which is like an insurance policy that caps the maximum mortgage payment you'll have to make every month. So if you didn't have a rate cap and you got a floating rate loan, every time the Fed kept increasing the interest rates, your mortgage payment kept going up. And your property couldn't make enough money fast enough to keep up with that rate hike. And so a
Mhm.
lot of properties are going under because of that. So if they didn't focus heavily on operations like we did, we're
Yeah.
able to keep up with it. Now, we're not making the huge returns that we thought we would make, but we're able to keep up with it. We're not in trouble with the lender. We're working on refinancing the deal because we have enough of a performance of the property to get the proceeds to refi. A lot of deals can't get refi proceeds enough to
Yep.
even pay off their existing loan. So that's a problem. So they have to put cash in. So the biggest mistake is not focusing on operations, thinking they could do nothing and things will be just fine. And unfortunately, that's not the case.
Yeah, all those pennies definitely add up if you're not
Mhm.
watching them. It was
Yeah.
similar in construction where you had all these forces, energy prices going through the roof, crazy inflation, supply chain issues, creating unavailability in products that you need. And all of that was pushing home prices up. It was preventing supply from getting to the market because you couldn't get product to the market. And at the same time, it was increasing the construction costs. It was kind of like, well, we don't have to be super operationally efficient because the home prices are going up, and just build it as fast as possible, stick it on the market. But then the interest rates did what they did, compressed that exit price, and you got stuck with the increased construction costs, and as a result, a lot of developers and builders got squeezed pretty hard. I want to cover something that a lot of people are going through right now. It's a heavy topic. Everybody's talking about this, $2 trillion of commercial real estate and multifamily debt that is coming due. What is something that investors should look for if they are currently in a deal that they've received notification from the sponsor that, hey, this is not going well. We might have to, take a loss on this, or we might have to create an additional class of shares and raise some rescue capital, some pref equity, or they're in the middle of a capital call. Their sponsors just said, "Hey, we need you to cough up more money, or this deal is going to go bad." What are some of the things they need to be looking for, or steps they should take?
What is the reason for the capital call? Is it because their rate cap is expiring and they need money to buy another rate cap? Is it because they need a little bit of cash? Let's say they're short by $500,000 to cash in and refinance to a permanent loan. Those would be fair reasons to do a capital call that I might be tempted as a passive investor to possibly invest. But the biggest thing to look at is how is the performance of the property? Because even if your mortgage payment went up, your revenue, your operating expenses that are controllable, and then your NOI, because of those, are those three things performing where they need to be? Or are we struggling? We're barely at 70% occupancy instead of 95% occupancy. We're not meeting the collections we should be meeting every month. So is the deal struggling anyway, regardless of the mortgage payment? So are you going to put good money after good or good money after bad? What does the future look like for this deal? If I contribute to this capital call, let's say it's a couple of $1 million in a capital call. What does the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 and 24 months look like? How are we getting out of this hole that the property is in right now, for which you need my money, you need more funds from me? And how are you going to rescue this property? Show me that path, show me the targets, and show me proof that your property can achieve those targets. Like, I need to get an NOI of 100K a month for this property to be okay, or 200K in collections, whatever those numbers are. Where are you at today? How do you think you're going to get there from getting this money? What is the purpose of this money? Those
So,
would be the biggest questions I would ask to make that decision.
okay, so two legit reasons are, hey, we need to buy a rate cap, so our loan is expiring, or our bridge loan is expiring. We need to keep the interest rate where it's at so our loan doesn't go up, causing us to have negative cash flow each month and lose money. And then reason number two was to try to get more money, a cash in refinance, to be able to get a new loan to be able to pay off the existing loan. So
Yeah.
those are two legit reasons for a capital call. Anything
Wow.
else is kind of, you said, throwing, good money after bad potential. If they're just running out of money to run operations and they're just bleeding but don't have a strategy, that's your red flag.
Well, even the rate cap is a bit of a red flag because that's only going to buy you maybe a year more. So do
Yeah,
you think a
yeah.
year from today, the deal is going to be okay? Do you think because of this rate cap with this current mortgage payment, the deal is going to float? Or is it still going to be negative cash flow every month? Is the deal performing really well? But I'm saying the two biggest reasons today people are making capital calls is because they need a rate cap, they need a rate extension of their existing loan, or they need a cash in to refi their loan,
Yeah.
or the deal is losing money and hey, I need money just to stay afloat. Why throw good money after bad? What are the odds that your original principal, maybe you put 50K in this deal a couple of years ago, are you even going to get that back? And what does that look like?
So you just named a couple things that getting operationally efficient can kind of, fix. If somebody is in this type of deal, what are the things that you should be looking at, as an operator, to be able to try to fix a deal that is headed in the wrong direction? Do you have any
Mhm.
strategies that you've pulled out of your purse to
Yep.
try to, fight a deal that might be going potentially sour?
Yes, absolutely. The longer the runway you have, the better. So if I have a rate cap that's expiring, 8 months away, that's better than something that's expiring next month. Because the longer the timeline horizon you have to fix something, the better. Because it gives you more time to get the property on track. The first person I would speak with is a lender broker. If I want to refinance to a permanent loan, what does it take? Here's the property's performance today. Where do I need to be to get at least to a cash neutral for my refinance? What does that look like? So they go through line by line of your T12, which is your financials, and they tell you you need this much in revenue, you need this much in expenses control, you need this much of NOI, etc. They will give you those targets that you can work towards. You can take that back to your property management team and say, guys, this is where I need to go in a few months. How do we get there? What do we have to do? What does it take? Is it 200 more per door we have to collect in some way? And what does that translate to? That's the first step. The second one is your listing broker, the brokers who can sell these properties for you. What are they saying your property is worth today? What do you need it to be worth to at least break even your investors? And so once you have those two guidelines, you know which way to go. Do I just get the property performance up a little bit more so I can sell it? Or do I first do a two-step, which is I have to refinance, hold it a little bit longer, and then sell it? Once you have those targets, that's where you get down to the operational tactics of, guys, how can we get another 200 bucks from this unit? What can we do that tenants actually appreciate and want to pay for? Just because I put granite countertop, somebody's not going to pay me 200 more. So
Yeah.
what's something? Do they like a washer dryer connections? That could be very useful. Do they like to park closer? Is that something they would pay for, etc.? Do they want Wi-Fi or cable internet? Because that's an expense in their household anyway. So why not we get a bulk rate and offer it through the property? And this way I could get an extra $30 or $40 a month per door.
That's huge. So you just named two things that a lot of people don't do. And it's so funny when real estate deals break down, or honestly, anytime that there's a lender and a borrower, when that transaction breaks down for whatever reason, that borrower tries, and I think it's like out of shame or embarrassment, you just see the communication almost completely break down. I mean, it's
Mhm.
crazy that the borrower just tries to sever communication because their ego is hurt, they're embarrassed, they're scared, and the exact opposite needs to happen. Start communicating. You said communicate with your lender, like get them in, go meet them. Hey, what can we do here? What's going on? And by the way, I'm going to give you a heads up. I'm not going to call you when there's a fire burning down. Like, let's get ahead of this and
Yeah.
let's work together. Because those lenders, they don't want the property. That they're
Mhm.
not in the business of that. They're in the business of loans. So I love what you said there. And then again, bringing the broker in on your side as well. Not enough people utilize that. You said something that was really interesting to me as an operator. You named a few things that you could do almost immediately as a value add to increase, 30, 40, $50 a month. And I know to a lot of people listening, that doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, it's huge in the way that these assets are valued. I'm not going to, go into the specifics, but 40, $50 a month increase is very significant when it comes to the value of a multifamily property. What are some other creative methods you've used to differentiate your apartment complexes that you've managed and stand out from, the other apartments? Because I was in a helicopter the other day. We were flying some people to go look at our developments and do like a bird's eye view. And I was looking at all the apartments and I'm like, dude, how do you differentiate in the apartment game? I mean, there's so much of it. How do you appear on Google and how do you get people in the front door? And how do you keep people? So I'm just kind of curious, like, do you have any strategies or methods that you've done to kind of like differentiate your property to win over clients and keep clients?
Yes, your biggest thing is customer satisfaction because it's all about the resident. If they didn't rent from you, you would be out of business. So you want to
Yeah.
find a way to differentiate your property from the others on the street. One thing we do is like the PTA mom and me comes out is I do resident activities. So almost every other month or so we have something going on. We partnered with a local organization to donate hats and scarves during the winter at one of our properties. We usually have Santa come out to the properties at Christmas. We always have the Easter bunny out at the property. We had national night out with the police and the fire truck coming to our property. We have a Halloween costume contest. We have a summer kickoff pool party if they have a pool. We just do a lot of different things on a regular basis so that the community comes together. Neighbors know each other. People know their on-site staff. So whenever there's a problem, they feel more comfortable with the communications. And
Mm.
that's very important because that promotes retention. Problems get solved quickly. So we have our bonus structure for our on-site staff based on renewals, and we want them to target 60% or better in renewals. And so we go through the list of renewals every month. So we reward all of the staff because your maintenance team maintaining the property nicely, picking up the ground, servicing those work orders, etc., is huge. Now, if you're a property on a floating rate bridge loan with cash flow challenges, your renewals and retention is going to help you tremendously because then you don't have to worry about the turn costs of turning that unit, making it ready for the next resident, new resident to move in, or the days that it stays vacant while you're trying to turn that unit. So renewals is huge for us, and that's what we like. So we prompt our residents to leave nice Google reviews whenever we do a good job of taking care of their work orders and serving them, because that attracts it. We don't like to pay for a lot of expensive marketing sites. We have found that word of mouth, referrals, good old flyers, Facebook, etc., is much easier and doesn't cost much money. So we'd rather take that marketing budget and do resident activities And so we did free Thanksgiving turkey one time. We usually have popsicles by the pool. We have a summer barbecue, cookout, etc. And even during COVID, what we did was we found those hard to find items like sanitizer and toilet paper and stuff, put it all into bags and left them on people's doors. We had a truck come out to our property, and we had this huge screen in which we aired a movie, and people sat 6 foot away, socially distanced, to watch it, just to say, hey, we're still a community. Don't feel isolated. We're all scared. We don't know what's going on. But I think that helps us stand out as far as the property that everybody likes and knows that we appreciate our residents. But renewals is money, right? If you can keep renewing people, then you don't have to spend money on the turn costs. So it
That
does
is
translate to revenue.
That is so cool. I mean, you're going over and beyond. You said the number that it's creating communities because
Mhm,
that's what ultimately going to get people to stay. And your highest cost is not an actual cost, it's the opportunity cost of not having somebody in
mhm,
that apartment.
mhm.
And, because when they exit, it takes time to, renovate it, turn it, put it on the market, fill it. And, every month that's, 12, 13, 14, 15, 2,500 bucks a month that you're missing out on that is reducing the value of your property. I love what you said there. Those were some great tips. I know that you run a mastermind called Ace Operators. Tell us
Mhm.
a little bit about that.
So the mastermind is focused on the asset management piece that is somewhat the forgotten piece across a lot of the mentoring programs by gurus. Because what's sexy is, the acquisition phase, the raising capital. There's probably 20 masterminds focused
Yeah.
on these topics, but very little on the back end. And so it's sort of like how you spend all this effort planning a wedding and a honeymoon, but you don't talk about actual marriage, which is what is the rest of your life. So we want to focus on that piece. So we have people apply online at aceoperators.com. And if I can help them and serve them, then they are welcome to join the mastermind. We have people who are coaches in several of the popular mentoring programs as members, and we deep dive into the issues they're having that day. So it's not like no matter what happens, lessons 1 through 12 are the same. No, it's where is your challenge today? Today you're
Yeah.
struggling with insurance, then we will talk about it or bring in an expert. So we like to knock the biggest piece. What is your biggest challenge in your property first? And it's like the domino effect. Once you take care of that big problem, a lot of your smaller problems get resolved because of that. And then it's the power of connections and network. I could introduce you to a flooring vendor who could give you your flooring at half the price. And right there, I could save you 50K as an example. But you get connected to my network of people. So whether you have a fire or a storm or some other challenge happening, I probably know someone who's done that. And
Mhm.
it's a collective mastermind because we all together help solve some of these challenges.
You're right. It really is one of the most overlooked things in business in general, quite frankly.
Mhm,
Everybody is focused on, oh, marketing. Let me go get a good deal. Let me go get a good deal. Let me make a great offer on whatever it is, and they run into this chokehold on their growth, and they're like, "Dude, I just can't grow anymore." And you look at their sales funnel, it's like, well, you're converting like 2% of the people that come in your funnel. Ah, no, I need to get more leads, right? And it's like, well, no, focus on how to be more operationally efficient. How do you take those 2 people to just 3 people?
mhm,
One more person converted. I mean, that's 50% growth over whatever time frame you're looking at. And a lot of us overlook that as entrepreneurs growing our businesses. It's
mhm,
not operational, it's operational efficiency. Like, how efficient can you get with taking the current leads you have and converting them into customers, which is the exact same thing. You're squeezing out more of those customers using the same funnel. You're squeezing out more rents from those same customers, utilizing some of those value add techniques with the internet and et cetera. So I love, love, love what you said there. If people want to learn more about you, invest with you, check out some of your opportunities, where can they find you and learn more?
aceoperators.com is for the operations side, strictly for multifamily. Engineer-capital.com is my website. And they can fill out a form there. They can download my free checklist to vet a sponsorship team. They can certainly connect with me on LinkedIn. So several ways to find me. And through you, of course, Brandon.
Yes, reach out and I'll be happy to connect you with Sandhya. It's been a pleasure having you. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Brandon. This is awesome.